lights are out again. Look, the whole neighborhood is in darkness. It looks creepy. And darkness was falling, and starry sky, and my monumental fear of earthquakes. Filthy assholes. Pigs are animals of human origin. Pigs roll over in dirt just for fun, with no particular reason. When are we going to get out of this shit? And yet another pin was dropping on the perfectly polished floor, and sound waves erupted in a frenetic spiral that broke the night's romantic silence. I can't take it anymore. My memory comes to life. I can remember clearly a blue car waiting by, while he was passing the floor with his amazingly shiny black leather shoes. It's like a low-level dream, out of which I remember the blindingly glowing light. My memories are all about light, about blinding light. This is not a life, and we're not his maggots. Light and water, that's all that I remember. I remember that I was choking with chloride-rich water. The feeling was sickening, and I still feel that from time to time. Where did my happy memories go? There cannot be any happy memories. Maggots don't have any nice memories, because that's the maggot's condition in life. Fill up the gas bottles. There will surely be a gas shortage today as well. And we're in the middle of winter, goddammit. Red bricks on the gas stove were glowing in the night, and I remember gazing for hours at those optical illusions above them. That was my universe. Did you buy any batteries for the radio? Electricity will definitely be out again tonight. And you never ever say anything entertaining. So I'd rather listen to the radio. Yes, I'd rather listen to the fucking asshole's speeches, as they're infinitely more interesting than your silence. And as usual, I'm not allowed to say his name. The fucking asshole remains nameless in my little world. You should have been getting more wood for the stove. Why would you be building a wooden stove if we never have enough wood for it? I don't care that we live in the city and the closest forest is miles away. You should have thought of that before. Running on the corridor. I was crying, but from behind, a laughing crowd was following me. Is she out of breath yet? She's still alive, but not for long. It will surely be over soon. Maybe it's better that way. I'm sick and tired of all this fake salami, fake coffee, fake milk, fake everything. I don't want to live in a fake world anymore. I know I'm not lucky enough to get out of it anytime soon, but as I say, sometimes you should build your luck with your own hands. In the room there was that huge black wooden drawer. It must have been weighing more than a mountain. And her husband sat there, in front of it like a medieval German wooden sculpture, not moving, white and smiling, frozen in time, just like my memory of him. And his wife was so frail that I always felt she would disintegrate at any point, after any of my loud, deep breaths. And again, the car's tank is empty. You're always too busy to go fill it up. You never think of me. You never think of my needs. You never think of us, your family. It's just about you and your fucking clocks. And I wake up again, thrown in the water against my will, chaotically shaking my hands and legs in all directions, trying to fight for each breath. Barbaric education. A barbaric world. Food. Morning. Tea. I vividly remember how they were collecting leaves from the trees behind the sunny brook. The best tea leaves grow in the shade, where no one sees them growing, where they're hidden. We drank hidden tea. I never was able to make the difference between the Romanian word for this tea, which is sunătoare, and the Romanian word for doorbell, which is sonaria. Tea was served in magical glasses that never broke and can survive through anything. War was new, in my mind. Otherwise we wouldn't need such glasses. Cheese. It was some very special type of cheese that always came in wet, juicy, parallel-headed white shapes that stood overnight on the floor. You could not eat it otherwise, your heart would explode from too much salt. I loved dumping little pieces of cheese in hot tea and then fishing them with a fork, as they always felt like rubber. Marmalade. Plum or peach. Boiled in the autumn for semi-rotten fruits. The ones that were not yet as rondins to be used for brandy. I loved covering the rubbery cheese bits in a thick layer of marmalade. Bread, thurasade. Haine thurasade it was called, and you could tell it apart from the normal bread from the fact that it was so smooth on the surface and having some fingerprints in it. Normal bread was covered in a layer of flour, which looked similar to salt. Bread flour was always genuinely tasted like flour covering normal bread, hoping that at some point it would be salty and original tastes. I used to make beautiful arrangements of marmalade rubbery cheese bits on each slice of bread. They looked fantastic, like modern art masterpieces, like decadent art. Dipiridamol. That was the name of the medicine she was taking after breakfast. The name was impossible to remember and amazingly hard for her to say it properly. It was for her heart, or rheumatism. She couldn't remember what it was for. I can't either. I just remember there were some small yellow pills in a little brown glass jar, with a white plastic top that had a green label. La Rotund, la Fabbrica del Latte, la Zamnoianu, la Vlasgen. There was always somewhere we needed to go to get something. There was always a queue for something. Lunch. Pilaf, mancare de kartof, pame, urzic, tokanica de pui, arza corrida. It was always based on what was currently the best deal in the local marketplace. There was always a movement. There was always a missed opportunity. A synthetic canvas bag with metallic handles. The point of contact between the handles and the hand was protected by a rubber seal, so you can hold it in freezing weather without wearing gloves. I remember the colors. Flowery shapes in ochre and orange, dirty, worn-out shades. After breakfast, that bag was always making its way to the marketplace and coming back loaded with all sorts of things. Sometimes there was even candy in it. Bomboniera. I remember it well. Made of green glass, shiny inside but matte outside, with a fascinating sound when opened. A minor chord, the sweet harmonies when they opened and closed immediately. Kamara, with the smell of dried engine grease. Food was always smelling of tools from the Second World War. Dinner. The show of fakery. The table was full of salami made of mysterious meat mixed with huge quantities of soya. Milk made in the Fabbrica del Latte. And finally, kashkaval, a luxurious product that was harder to get than the Holy Grail, and no one knows what it was made of. The radio was on, and Danube's water levels were always making the food a bit tastier. Electrotechnica. This was the brand of the radio. The only brand. A small black stereo with a chromed anode that worked only on shortwaves. Batteries were pink and went inside a plastic tube that you had to be quite electronically skilled to insert properly in its place. A knock on the door. A very special knock, like a Morse code. 2 long beats, then 3 short ones, and then 2 long ones again, and so on. We knew it was Mr. Zarnoianu. He was the only one knocking like that. Maybe he got it from the war, as he was fighting in Stalingrad. Once again the room turned black, and fumes came from trays like curling clouds of carrying winds blowing in the direction of my small experience. The windows were black and light and could no longer pierce the inner curtain. And then I was waiting. He used to have this old-fashioned film development tank, with a plastic band that had small round bumps on the edges. I heard the way he carefully placed the film on the top of the plastic band and then rolled it gently, placing it with great care in the black tank. I heard that all, and the sounds are still very much in my ears. Black liquid was blurping from the beer bottles, and I was hearing that all. I heard how pictures formed from the chaos of tiny silver particles all working in unison. I heard that all, and it was fascinating. An old metronome was counting the seconds. Adagio. The tempo was right. I heard how time was passing by and how the small silver creatures forever stopped at the precise moment when bright glowing fluid blurped again from the magical metal can with rusty noise. The smell was frightening, and it felt like the whole neighborhood suddenly could feel the stench of our little criminal activity. I loved it. There we were, 2 Kalashnikov-shaped human beings with no place on any flag, not representing any ideals that don't comprehend the vastness of the eternal plan. We just had our small sleeves and the room. And the room turned bright. Colors filled every gap there could have been in our logic, and all the fluids went back in their canisters. The little silver particles made sense. I looked at the film towards the light, and I saw how the shapes appeared. Shadows, dots, gradients, lines, spots, happy faces and jumping dogs, birds and eggs, worms and fishes, the indoor and the outdoor of our neighborhood restaurant. They all made their way to our dark cave. Distorted pictures on the walls of our leather tents. Deformed shapes that looked like animals. And we all felt hungry. The room turned red. He made his enlarging machine from parts he rescued from a deceased German tank. The lifting leg was a transmission shaft. The big light ball was an oil rig. The projection table was the navigation chart of the tank operator. The lens was from an old Zorki, one produced just after the war in the Soviet Union, with kidnapped German labor. Light was thrown, and the tiny silver particles had their fun again. And it was wonderful. I remember how everything was red in the news. A descriptive red piercing through the glass screen of the Romanian-made black-and-white TV sets, the only TV set that we were able to buy in those days. The program starts. I see a map of Romania made of rays growing bigger and bigger. It will be in the end so big and so glowing that little chamber will not be enough for it. Rotating and rotating and rotating and rotating and rotating, the music is loud and broken. A bunch of people are gathering in a village dance, holding each other's hands and singing about tractors, spare parts, and heavy machinery. Noi suntem romani, noi suntem romani, noi suntem romani, noi suntem romani. Ceausescu pace, 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 pace. Ceausescu și partidul. Noi suntem romani, partidul Ceausescu, Romania, 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 Romania. Pace, Ceausescu, Ceausescu. I was trying to learn to read from some idiotic scraps of paper with empty words. My favorites were the ones about Western cars. It was always funny to see how there were never any normal cars in there. Only amazingly futuristic and unrealistic automobile concepts that were always meant to make the Western world look terribly immature. The family cars were always either Romanian or Russian, as our dear Chinese brothers were not yet starting to manufacture decent vehicles. I can still remember the smell of those magazines, and still, after thousands and hundreds of printed materials that went through my hands, I could not find anything that smelled similar. And suddenly everything turned dark. I remember that day. It was bright and sunny. The atmosphere was tense, and they were listening to the radio. The unofficial radio. Radio Free Europe. They were speaking about Timișoara. Someone was calling on the phone from there, crying, not making much sense. Bucharest was calm, and just the night before we saw the usual speech on the TV. Everything seemed to be normal. The usual empty words and useless mumbling he used us with so little. Until one point of no return. Flight 2112 Heavy, you're cleared for takeoff on runway 3 left. This is Flight 2112 Heavy, roger that. Engines full power. V1. Rotate. Gear up. Flaps at 15. Retract flaps. Reaching flight level 3. Cruising speed. The dictator was captured at Târgoviște and is being held captive in the local military barracks. He complains about the food in there. Terrible fake food that we're all so much used to. They all think justice has finally been done. We see him with the doctor. We see the doctor taking his blood pressure. He rolls up his sleeve. She looks blank. His wife as well. And then the famous video footage with a terrible green distortion. There are 2 brown wooden tables with steel legs describing a corner. They sit like 2 iceberg peaks, looking puzzled toward the small group of generals. Stanculescu's there, and he no longer has his leg in a cast. Why did you run away with the helicopter from the roof of the Central Committee? He tries to find Stanculescu from the group to confront his eyes. Stanculescu's busy building a paper plane. The court goes away for debating, and 10 minutes later they're back with a verdict. He's found guilty on grounds of undermining the state economy, genocide, human rights violation, and some other pathetically described invented charges. They are both sentenced to death with immediate execution. Don't tie us up. You have no right to do that. Do not tie us up. We have the right to die with dignity, together. We want to die together. We've been fighting together, and we want to die together. But don't tie us up. You're breaking my hand, son. I raised you up like a mother. I raised you all up, and now look how you're treating me. The battery of the camera is empty. Where's the new one? Oh no, we'll miss the execution. Where's that fucking battery. Go and tell them to wait for us. But find that battery first. There it is. Throw it over. How the hell does this piece of shit get in? Oh, I got it. Fuck! Are those gunshots? Run! And there was a cloud of machine gun smoke. The man was running toward the spot where they both were down, and a steadily flowing stream of blood was coming out of her head. He fell on his knees and then on his back, with his head tilted to the left. And I remember all that very clearly. I remember how he used to stay without moving next to the kitchen table and with his ear glued to the old black plastic radio. He was listening to every syllable that was coming from the Free Press. What is the Free Press? How is the Free Press? Why wasn't the press free until now? What will they do now? I was born in a cottage somewhere in the middle of nowhere, with dusty earth floors and no TV set. Now I have Persian rugs made at Cisnedia and a black and white TV set. And all that thanks to who? Thanks to him. I would have been rotting away in the end of the world's slimy pit if he wasn't to bring me over to Bucharest. Poor, poor dictator. Poor, poor little fool. They killed him. They shouldn't have had. And we were told that we were free. Immediately we filled our trunk with souvenirs from our entangled lives and started our trip to heaven. And heaven was not that far. We just needed to cross the river and they gave us ice cream, and the anthem of the Football World Cup in Italy, and a lot of gold from the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, and tea, and the green water of the Black Sea in Varna, and all that was possible because an asshole was dead. Or so I heard. The poor, poor little asshole that kept us in cages. Each of us, in our own private cage. They all left quickly, and as far as they could, they've cried out their sorrow in solitude. Soon we had no friends anymore, because they were all going away, and the grass smelled like Oktoberfest beer. We went there eventually. It was a train ride that had no end in sight. For the first time, I saw people just as people should be. Grass just as grass should grow. Rivers just as rivers should flow. Air just as air should be breathed. And ducks that were quacking with the most wonderful quacking sounds imaginable. And we told them all about the dead dictator. We told them about the weak dictator, and the megalomaniacal dictator, and the greedy dictator, and the poor, poor dictator. They shook their heads and smiled. They had nothing to say about this, but they took off the clothes covering their bodies and they gave them to us. And there they were, an entirely naked society of chocolate from Helsinki gold. This is how thoughts multiply, and they did not this way. I wish with all my heart to make a place where people would live, where grass was grass, rivers were rivers, where air was air, and ducks were quacking, and yes, I was an idiot. And yes, the world was still a fantastic place. Just as always. Then I was surrounded by trains. Blue coaches with dogs. So many dogs that I was always afraid to say anything I didn't understand. Dogs are infants with pig ears. They hear and understand everything, otherwise they wouldn't wag their tails in great expectation when you happen to think of spruce. The man was carrying a huge pile of hay to feed his goats. He's a goat herder, and his goats have eyes of snakes and tails of blue lizards. They eat only a very special type of grass, from a species that's extinct, but that the poor little goat herder managed to bring back to life by genetically manipulating normal grass. My mind was clear every week on Friday, when I was regularly visiting them. I went there to have a glimpse into the past, to remember how it all was, how the glasses never broke, how cheese squeaked, and how marmalade never fell upside down from the table. Their end was approaching fast, and more I was following with my mind's eyes, the way her breath made coiling waves in the sickening heat of each summer. I could always find an unexplored corner of that endless apartment, and all his clocks, they all rang in the middle of the night and made everyone crazy. Ringing clocks sound like class victory. We were all born in a poor house with dusty earth floors made from ancient ceramic bowls with spoons made of javelins from the great mammoths. And look at us now. I can walk barefoot to the toilet. My way is paved with Persian rugs from Cisnedia and fluffy windows. I can watch the television and find out the latest news from anywhere in the world. I pick up my phone and call my friend. But grandfather, that's only progress. Soon you'll be able to do amazing things that you cannot even think of right now. It's not your silly comrade that made it all possible. It's all just thanks to normal human progress. Your idiotic eternal president just locked you in your own private cage and fed you dog food. With your brilliant brain, you could have made it much better on your own than accepting to be a slave for this imbecile system. You could have had more Persian rugs and more indoor toilets. I know you don't need them, you stubborn communist. Everything was so blurry in my life that the fuzziness of those years were quickly balanced by ambiguous conflicts of old age. They all bombarded me with certitudes, and I truly believed them. My ego was formed, and my strike was fresh and full of life. I learned to do things just for the pleasure of doing them, not for any controlled aim. None of my aims were controlled, and losing control was something I could not help myself from doing. You're going to destroy yourself. It's fine with me. But for God's sake, please think of your friends. Don't drag them into this. Don't make them join you on your self-destructive path just because you feel too lonely to be on it by yourself. Go there alone. Nobody needs you anyway. And as the last thing I want to tell you before you go home and never open your chemistry books again, is that there's always a stairway you're climbing. Some of you will reach the top. Some of you will just gaze up to their mates who made it all the way up. And yes, you scum, don't think you'll ever get to climb it. Not even a step before you're overwhelmed and quickly get back down from it. Again you're painting? Why are you doing that? What do you mean with no reason? Are you an idiot? You always need reasons to do things. Stop wasting paper and do something with your life. You know what? You have salary now. You must search for an apartment for yourself now. We cannot afford to have an enemy in the house. Just go. Don't come back. But relax. I'll give you a locomotive, mate. His folks are very poor, but he's top quality. You're so lazy. You'll never get to do anything with your life. I'd be surprised if you even get to be a toilet cleaner. But no way. They're asking for a university degree for cleaning toilets these days. You won't get it, because you'll not even finish high school at this phase. You won't graduate because you're so lazy. Lazy like a pig. Like a fat pig. And another glass of booze was poured. Blurry. Blurriness. Blurry madness, but sharp thoughts of social justice. And again, my gathered strength illuminated through vast plains of golden wheat. And all was gorgeous. My thoughts of her were beautiful. The vast list of delirious disillusions was growing fast. Just look at you, looking in the mirror. Look at that pig-faced pink piñata. Green garlic threads were more attractive in the dim light of your blurry soul. You should never speak your mind. Not in this way. Not in any way. Your mind is being damaged. Your thoughts are in the wrong order. Your disorderly order of damaged thoughts. On that day, Marx was screaming from the tabletop, spitting in his white beard with Lenin's bald head in mind. All is gone, and there we went, to light up one more candle next to his dead body. The corpse was like a wedding cake, like a shockingly sweet strike of insulin. I'll have to do this 3 more times. Her imminent words about mortality are still with me. Bearing on to the back of my head, scratching my scalp and pulling my skull backwards. His last money went toward buying a bottle of booze. He looked at me as if he knew it was over. Next to the bed there was a bucket. Broken down beside bottles of breathing beasts. Expanded bellows and breakaway lands. Long forgotten fields of potatoes with ancient arms. What are you doing here? He asked. What am I doing here? Why did I come? Landslide landing safely lowering broken-tailed comets. What have I done with my eyes? I can't see anything. My broken sound barriers. There's a battle over there. There's a war. There was hunger. The Russians came, robbing and raping everyone. Savages. They stole everything they got their slimy hands on. I forgot to buy cream. Put some more. A small fire burns a tiny hole. It's still a mystery. One of my legs is gone. Don't know how. Don't know why. It's just gone. I noticed it this morning when I tried to get up from bed. Letters kept repeating in front of me, but I couldn't understand anything. I don't understand anything anymore. I'm alone in front of the flying letters. The world has suddenly turned into a mess of speeding words I can't get a grasp of. What's happening to me? I'm alone. Alone in the middle of spinning colors. The shapes of my youth. A colorful abyss. I fell and I can't get up. What am I doing here? How did I end up on the floor with a broken arm? Where's my hand? Did I ever have a second leg? Did I ever have a home? Where's my husband? They all left me here to die. I think I sometimes in the past wanted to die, but I don't want to anymore. There once was someone on my mind. My brain had a shape. It used to glow. Cardiovascular medicine for common blood pressure sickness. My blood vessels are like glass, like diamonds, like glass diamonds. Did he ever come back to me? I remember his face. I don't remember the details, but his face is clear to me. The idea of the face. It was bright and round. Many times they used to tell me, "Lady, be careful with that kid." I have no home. I'm a pain for these people around me. I don't know these people. Who are they? Why are they here? Why am I here with them? Maybe they'd like to be somewhere else. I don't like this. I don't like that I never had a home. I should have had one. I should have had a husband. I should have had kids. Not like this. I wasted my life. I was never ever able even to earn a decent living. And now I'm paying for it. With my leg, my eyes. Why can't I see anything? Am I flying? Was I ever flying? Was I supposed to fly? Not like this. Not all alone. Why am I not in my home? I remember now. I used to have a home. It was a lovely home. Persian rugs, a television set. It had a balcony with red flowers, with beautiful tall trees, and the smell of tea left to dry out. I remember now. Sound of that old Russian clock in the morning. He was making his bed every evening during the news, and then in the morning the pillows had to be taken out to get some air. It smelled fresh in the winter and heavy in the summer. I remember the blades of the old ventilator, their sound in the afternoon silence, when he used to stay in his armchair and play with the remote control. The buttons were all polished by his fingers. Swans flying over my head like flipping mermaids, and the village fool playing the violin. Brides pirouetting over the city hall with their fiddlers, finding fresh bread and seasides. The circle is complete. I have returned to my beginnings. Ridiculously running over the meadows of my fatherland, singing a song from kindergarten, smelling of cabbage, raw flesh, and umber.